Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is 7 a.m. in the morning, East Coast time, May 30th. It is a Thursday. The NBA Finals are starting today, but you're watching this video for some baseball. 7-game slate over on DraftKings. FanDuel as well. I guess this will be relevant for definitely all the stats that you're seeing. You can get these over on Patreon if you'd like. And yeah, I'm excited for this baseball slate. I'm excited because in about 10 minutes, 20 minutes really, is when the Memorial for golf is kicking off. We have the NBA Finals tonight, so lots of sports going on, and really just starting off, which is always fun. 7-game slate in MLB. Continue to get up and down, peaks and valleys in the MLB season, which is always going to be really the case when you can't rely on cash and you really can't rely on any sort of system getting you daily returns that consistently, right? It can happen for a week straight, and then it cannot happen for 2 weeks. It's a peaks and valley type of sport, and I wish there was a way around that, but there's not. So just hope that your peaks are bigger than your valleys, meaning allocating your bankroll properly when you do win some sort of big prize, or you're just cashing in tournaments, not putting it all back in, because the valleys are coming, and if they come when you're putting everything on the line or a lot of your bankroll on the line, it's going to sweep it all up. Trust me, I know. Let's break down into the slate. If this is your first time to the channel, my name is Sal Vetri. I cover daily fantasy sports and all the major sports. You can see right now we have the MLB, the NFL. I have some off-season content. Make sure to check that out. QB and running back top 10s for right now for fantasy are out. Those are going to be adjusting, right? It's May still, barely the 30th, but it's still May. So it's really early. Just some fun that I'm having with off-season NFL. Golf stuff is out. NBA, the videos are out all week long. There's a first look. There's a strategy video for how to tackle a showdown slate and really just make a unique lineup. And then there's my projections video for NBA today. That was released yesterday. And then I'm going to be going live tonight around 5:30 for the NBA Showdown Slate Finals. I'm excited. $1 million on the line. You should be playing it if you have the spare money and if you have a free ticket. Otherwise, don't be putting tons of bankroll in. But have something on the line for $1 million. I'm fine with that. Just not everything in your bankroll, right? So that's all obvious. That's all good and fun. So let's break right down into it. I'm excited that you're here. Hit the like button if you can. If you get any value during this video, hit the subscribe button. We're approaching 4,500 subscribers. That's really good. We've done this without the NFL push or the extra NFL. Really, NFL content is going to get like 10x just because that's how many more people like the NFL, and like rightfully so, right, compared to the other sports that are out there, especially right now in the summer where we have a bunch of different sports, but no real premier sport with the NBA coming to an end. MLB I would not call a premier sport, although the fantasy payouts are pretty good in terms of the overall quantity of the money being put out. The structure is getting a little bit better too. So MLB today, 7-game slate, and I think it's tough in terms of finding a pitcher. And keep in mind, it's 7 a.m. I built this sheet around 6 a.m. and I only broke down into it for about a half hour or so. But I think that the way the salaries are priced and definitely the matchups of some guys, it's going to be real chalk players landing on, or DFS players landing on the same types of plays, and it's going to make it so that it's difficult to get a pitching core that you trust, and you might have to just punt your SP2 and hope that paying up on your bats pays off with your SP2 just getting you there. So let's just break down into it. There's a couple of guys on this slate right away, and we can kind of target them on this top end. There's 4 guys at 10K and above, but all 4 of these guys are not the same as the other. There's some that are better players in tougher matchups, i.e. Charlie Morton, i.e. Chris Sale today. Rue is going up against the Mets. He's 11-2. He's the most expensive pitcher on the slate. I don't think I would ever pay that much for him. He has the highest fantasy points per game, which isn't that great, but he's also the biggest favorite. And when you tell me that he's facing the Mets today in a ballpark that is pretty neutral compared to some of these competitors that he's going to be playing, then yeah, I like Rue today. He's a guy who struggles, or he doesn't really struggle from either side of the plate in terms of power. If anything, he's giving it up more so to righties, but that righty number is still average relative to this slate. So yeah, there's not much on a normal slate. You're telling me Rude's 11-2, I'm probably going, okay, well, who's the next best guy? Well, when I see the next best guy is Chris Sale, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'd rather go there for $400 less, but not on this slate. Not on a slate where he's going to be going up against the Yankees in New York. So definitely a hitter's ballpark. And yes, Chris Sale has had much success against the Yankees in the past, but this is a different Yankees team, and honestly, it's probably a better Yankees team as of right now in terms of just fantasy scoring if you're trying to build stacks without Judge and Stanton. So how are you going to say the Yankees are better without Judge and Stanton? Trust me, I'm a Yankees fan. Those guys strike out way too much, so if you're trying to build a rally, you're trying to build a lead, them striking out and not just putting the ball in play and getting base hits, and it's either strikeout, a double off the wall, or a home run, it seems like it's not that great, and right now the Yankees are just thriving without them, and I kind of like it. But in terms of, for fantasy, a pitcher against you, yeah, they're not striking out. They're actually putting the ball in play, and they have a ton of pop. And when they're in their home stadium, that pop just explodes even more with the short porch in right field, especially when you take into account that they have maybe not a ton of lefties. Aaron Hicks at the top of that lineup is going to do pretty well. They have a switch hitter or two in the lineup, but you have guys who can go the opposite way in Gary Sanchez and Luke Voigt. So, yeah, Chris Sale at 10-8, I think he's a great GPP type play today, and I might break down into him a little bit more and feel more comfortable. But in the numbers, obviously, since the beginning of the year to now are just completely different. He's getting more swings and misses. He looks absolutely incredible, especially against righties which this Yankees lineup, in terms of striking out, righties, which this Yankees lineup is loaded with, but again, they don't strike out as much. And if he's giving up power to any side of the plate, it is those righties, which the Yankees lineup has a lot of powerful righties, whether it's Gleyber Torres, whether it's Luke Voit, whether it's Gary Sanchez. If some reason some Yankees are sitting today, hope mainly Gary Sanchez or Voit or Torres. If one or two of those guys somehow takes the seat today, then yeah, Chris Sale's going to get a big bump for me. He probably becomes the guy that I really want to play. But those are the guys that would be doing damage against Sale. And if one of them hits a 2 or 3 run home run, well, paying 10-8 for him is kind of down the toilet if he does anything else wrong in that game. So right now, Rue is the top guy compared between him and Sale in this upper range that I like. I mean, you can go down to Mike Minor. Mike Minor's in one of the worst ballparks you can possibly be in Texas today. I mean, it's the worst ballpark on the slate when you don't have cores on it. Mike Minor has been getting extremely lucky, although his SIERA is still pretty good, around average on this slate at 4.05, but compared to his 2.55 ERA, getting extremely lucky. And that's usually what you'll see out of low ERA guys. I mean, the same thing can be said for Rue, 1.65 ERA with a 3.23 SIERA. That's still a really good SIERA. It's just you're still getting lucky. Mike Minor, yeah, there's some concerns today. He's going up against a team similar to this Yankees team, very similar in the terms of power that they have from the right side of the plate, but also the left side, and also just the amount that they strike out. Not a lot. Mike Minor is a strikeout pitcher. He's pitching really well this year, not giving up power to either side of the plate. He is giving up above average walks, which isn't great, but overall there's not much bad things to say about him except that he's $10,300 playing in a ballpark that does not favor him against batters who it does favor. So if you're telling me in a vacuum, do I like Mike Minor today? I'd probably lean yes, although the matchup isn't great. He's a guy who's going to get you 6 1/3 innings. He averages 6.38 innings per game, and that's really good, especially when you want to pay up. You want your pitcher to go potentially 7 or 8 innings, and with that average, that means that he has been going around 7 innings a game half the time, and half the time he goes 6 or 5 2/3. So Minor at his price point, I don't like it. And when you take into account the rest of the slate, similar to Chris Sale, the matchup's not great compared to some other guys in this range. And then you go down to $10,000 Charlie Morton, who has been pitching extremely well. All these guys are favorites, and it makes sense, right? They're some of the best players or some of the best pitchers in the league. And you get Charlie Morton here, who's playing really well. Yes, he has problems with walks. That's not great, but he's not giving up power at all. But now he goes and he faces, this is kind of the complete opposites. Charlie Morton not giving up power at all. He has one of the lowest home run give ups, the lowest on the slate pretty much if you take out Joe Musgrove at 0.06 per 9. But now he goes in, doesn't give up hard contact, gives up a lot of ground balls, which is good, not a lot of fly balls. All this stuff is great, right? Striking out lefties at a high clip, also striking out righties at about a league average clip. No righties have power against him. If anything, lefties have a little bit. And now you get this team in Minnesota that doesn't strike out outside of the Angels, the second lowest strikeout rate on the slate, and then the highest ISO by far. I mean, they're going to break home run records. So Charlie Morton, this is kind of a great GPP play here. Definitely not cash and definitely not a GPP play that I really want to recommend for first and foremost, because this is the most dangerous team on the slate in Minnesota. The things that are in Charlie Morton's favor is he just doesn't give up home runs. He allows a lot of ground balls. He pitches to ground ball contact, but he also gets strikeouts, and he's pitching in a ballpark today that is going to be favoring him in Tampa Bay in terms of, if anything, the pitcher is going to have an advantage. That all said, I still prefer Rue. So out of these 10,000 and above guys, there's 4 of them. I think Rue just makes the most sense, and I think that's where ownership is going to gravitate towards. He gets the best strikeout matchup out of these 10,000 and above. He gets the best overall power matchup. All these other guys have actually tough matchups when you take into account either the ballpark, the opposite teams, the opposing team's power, or just both of those for some of them. So yeah, I'm going to be leaning with Rue here against this Mets team. Lots of things that I like about it. I mean, by far the lowest walk percentage by almost more than 5 percentage points. He has a very low home run rate, so although Charlie Morton's is extremely low, Mike Minor's is even low, Rue's is really low, and when you factor that into a team in the Mets who, they have home run hitters for sure. Pete Alonso, a great home run hitter. Michael Conforto can smash the ball out of the ballpark, right? When you factor that in, with his low home run rate with the ballpark that he's going to be pitching in, and just in general not giving up power to either side of the plate, it's not just one side, it's either side, then yeah, I'm going to take Rue in the 10K and above range. If you said Sal, who is your second favorite option if we're going GPPs, it's probably Charlie Morton, because I'm not going to want to stack Minnesota against Charlie Morton. There's probably going to be maybe some lower price points, but I think that's where I'll get low ownership on a guy in Morton who can go out there and pitch 6 innings and get 8 Ks against this Minnesota team. Again, they don't strike out a lot, but that's where I would go to be extremely different, and it's really mainly because of the price point. You get him at the cheapest price point. I don't really want to test Mike Minor in that ballpark with that much power. from KC. I think Charlie Morton has a little bit more upside there at $10,000. But again, I don't want any three of those guys between Sale, Minor, and Morton as of right now in GPPs. It's going to be Rue. Let's fall down to the complete opposite end here at the low range. And now this is the problem. You have all those tough matchups outside of Rue on the top end, and you're kind of picking and choosing. Rue also, I should mention, averaging 6.5 innings per game. That's really good. He's getting into the seventh far more than anybody else really on the slate outside of maybe a Mike Minor. So that's, again, really good. Now Chris Sale has been getting there a little bit more. But let's jump to this bottom end. You got about three pitchers who are pretty much openers or just not getting deep into games. You see Manny Buenos, we'll try his name another time. 3.5 innings per game. You have Jason Vargas. He's getting 3.64 innings per game. Now, he just came off the injury in the last game, and the last time he pitched, and he was on a pitch count, I think around 80 pitches. But really, he's only been throwing about 85 pitches a game on the year. So keep an eye on that 3.64 innings. He's not an opener, but he's a huge underdog today against the Dodgers. And really, if I want to play a lot of Rue, I'm not going to just be getting to a lot of Jason Vargas on a 7-game slate because it just limits my upside. Why should I be choosing between both of these pitchers? And then Chase Anderson, a guy who is only averaging about 3 innings per game. Nothing really there at $7,000 that's going to be standing out and telling me to want to get myself some Chase Anderson when he gets no ground balls. He gives up power and fly balls. And nothing really there that I like. So here's the thing on the low end that stinks from 7,000 and below. You get two guys who just aren't going to be going deep into games. You get Jason Vargas, who I think is actually a sneaky GPP play. I think those 3.64 innings per game are going to keep people off of him. He should be now fully healthy, which really still is only 85 pitches. But again, he's 6,400. But the fact that I want to play a lot of Rue, or at least right now I want to play a decent amount of Rue at $11,200, it's going to make me not get to Jason Vargas. It's probably going to make me lean more so on some of these guys down here. So you have, I'm going to mess this up, Yusi. So this man right here at $6,800, I apologize, he's going up against the Angels, and I don't like pitching anybody against the Angels because in fantasy you need strikeouts, and they have the lowest strikeout percentage on the slate, just around 17%. They also have power. It is a pitcher-friendly ballpark here in Seattle, but nothing else really stands out. Now, this Angels team is sort of just weird in terms of trying to stack against players. It's really Mike Trout, and then maybe you like Ohtani, although he has not been looking the same this year at all. But really, nobody else out there is that appealing to me due to injuries or due to whatever might be the case. So I'm not going to be getting to that at 6,800. I'm not going to be getting to Vargas at 64. Chase Anderson at 7,000, no. So where am I going? Not going to just Manny Benelos at the bottom. So you're telling me that the two guys that I would get to below $6,000 who actually get decent depth into games are Joe Musgrove, who's a small favorite against Milwaukee today, and he goes 5.36 innings into games. Does not give up home runs, does not give up power, which is very good because today he's facing a team that has a lot of pop, and they do strike out though. Musgrove does not have any strikeout stuff whatsoever. He can get you 5 or 6. He can go into a 6th or 7th inning because he is sort of efficient. So Joe Musgrove at $6,000 is probably the guy that I get to the most from the 7K or below range. Jake Junis against Texas is just as scary as a matchup because of the ballpark as well, so I probably shy away from that because he does give up more home run production, home runs through 9, 1.47, compared to Musgrove's 0.31, and now he's in a ballpark where hitters, especially these Texas hitters, can absolutely crush the ball in KC or in Texas. So I lean Joe Musgrove from $7,000 or below, and then I really can't even recommend anybody else. Jake Junis would be the only other person if you really want to hate yourself after today and realize that he gives up 4 home runs. I'd rather stack Texas very heavily against him. Musgrove would be the cheap guy that I take a shot with at $6,000, and I don't think I'm the only person thinking that. I think everybody will be doing that. J.A. Happ, the guy who just gives up everything to righties, .288, the highest ISO on the slate to righties. I'd rather stack Boston against J.A. Happ in the righties today. He's not a guy who works deep into games. He's not a guy in J.A. Happ who's going to get any type of strikeout stuff. So what are you paying for here for J.A. Happ? Turn off that volume. Just getting people commenting on the NBA video. Go check that out. But what are you getting at $7,400 from J.A. Happ today? A guy who's an underdog going up against Chris Sale and this Boston team who's has a lot of pop, obviously. We know that they're a great team. They don't strike out that much, and J.A. Happ just doesn't give up strikeouts, or he doesn't get strikeouts, right? And he just gets clobbered by righties, which is Boston team. Most likely today will just have a load of righties. So there's nothing out of J.A. Happ that I want. Felix Pena is who I have starting today, and I just want to double check this actually. Is Felix Pena actually starting? The site I pulled from last time said Felix Pena was starting, but then somebody else ended up playing or starting over him. So let me just check. Just click a random one here. Who do they have a probable for LA? You can see the real time right here, me getting into this. Yeah, Skaggs. So this is exactly what happened last time. Tyler Skaggs was supposed to be, or was the actual starter. He pitched extremely well, but this sheet ended up going with Felix Pena. So, whoops. There we go. So Tyler Skaggs, the favorite in terms of minus 104. So let's go back to that. So this should be about minus 104. Bang. Cool. There we go. That all filled in nicely. And then the only other thing that I would have to fill in is Seattle versus LA. The park factor there is going to be 1.22. 1.122. And Seattle is going to be at. Perfect. There we go. So that's all fixed now. Tyler Skaggs actually at 8,200 actually now becomes a guy that I do want to play, coming off a really good start. Again, going up against Seattle with the second highest ISO on the slate, team that does strike out. And the only thing nice about that ISO being high, like that's not great for a pitcher to go up against a powerful team. Same thing for Charlie Morton going up against Minnesota, is the fact that this is a ballpark where it could stabilize, giving up right around 1 home run per game, 1.14 Skaggs. Gives up hard contact, although that is coming down over the past few starts. Again, that could be small sample due to the teams he's playing, not getting a lot of ground balls. But again, $8,200 is between, pretty much you're telling me, Carlos Carrasco, Martin Perez, and Tyler Skaggs for who do I think a viable SP2 is. We already talked about Joe Musgrove in the low range. We already talked about the high range with Rue really being the guy who stands out, and I don't think that that's surprising anybody. I don't think that it's terribly bad to try and go in and get you Chris Sale, Mike Minor, Charlie Morton, either of them. Again, I probably lean Charlie Morton, but the more I say it out loud, I probably lean Chris Sale, the more that I do say it. But again, you're not saving as much money there. So this mid-range is really where it's going to get interesting. And the mid-range being Carrasco, Martin Perez, Tyler Skaggs, and I guess you can say J.A. Happ. We already talked about J.A. Happ. I don't want any of that. Tyler Skaggs is a small favorite here against Seattle, but Seattle grades out extremely well. They grade out similar in terms of their power to Minnesota, but they do strike out a good amount. Let's move up a little bit more before we make a decision on that. You have Martin Perez, who's been looking like a new pitcher as of late, although as of late, meaning this year, the past few starts, not as well as when he opened up. He gets Tampa Bay now in a spot where he is a small underdog against Charlie Morton. He's getting extremely lucky. His Sierra is a 4.59. So people are freaking out over Martin Perez. I get it. He's looking better, but a lot of those are face stats, right? His strikeout stuff is still not up there. He's not giving up any ISO to lefty, so power in general, he's not giving up home runs, 0.78 per start. And now he gets a team that doesn't have a ton of pop in Tampa Bay, right? The top of that order, some guys in Meadows and whoever else might be up there, just some pop, Tommy Pham, but they strike out a decent amount, and this is a pitcher's ballpark. So although he's an underdog, I think $9,000 Martin Perez is fine. I think he is appropriately priced for this slate. I would like him to be a little bit cheaper, maybe $8,500, but I think it's fine. I think getting to him is fine. I'd keep him in my pitcher playing pool. And then $9,500 Carlos Carrasco. He's a big favorite, minus 180 here. Goes up against a team in Chicago that strikes out a ton, doesn't have a ton of pop in their bats. The problem is Carrasco gives up 2 home runs per 9. Now that's a very small sample, obviously, but gives up 2 home runs per 9, and then giving up just tons of hard contact, not a lot of ground balls, and a lot of that is going to be factored into the fact that he is giving up a ton of home runs through 9. I just want to make sure that this is correct. Yeah, so actually it is a decent-sized sample. I want to see the amount of home runs he's given up this year. 5, 9, 10, 11, 12. So yeah, 12 home runs and however many starts that's been, I guess 6 if it's 2 home runs per 9. That's extremely bad. So that's what worries you. The only nice thing here is that he is pitching in a pitcher-friendly ballpark against a team that has no pop. The thing that I would say is he gives up loads of that power, really to both sides of the plate. So stack up either side of Chicago White Sox if you really want to. I'd lean maybe some more lefties in there, but either side, and you have Moncada at the top of that lineup, so either side is fine. I would lean Martin Perez, save $500, and just get away from the possible blow-up spot that Carlos Carrasco is viable for. So talking through all those pitchers, again, the first time that I'm talking through it early in the morning, Rue by far and away is the best pay-up spot, whether you're talking in just overall depth into the game, pairing the strikeout stuff with the ISO compared to his competitor's strikeout rate and their ISO. Just a lot of things there. The walk percentage is down. You're not going to get a lot of negatives out of Rue. He's going to be going into games, probably 7 innings against this Mets team, and gives up 2 runs, gets you 6 or 7 Ks. He's not a guy who's going to get a ton of Ks. He's right around the league average, but that's really what you like. And at 11-2, he can get you to 25 to 30 points, and that's what you're paying for. Whereas the other guys on this slate in the upper range with Sale, Minor, and Charlie Morton all have really worrisome statistics behind them, whether it's the park factor mixed with the opponent's ISO, and whatever it might be. Chris Sale is still giving up a lot of pop, really to both sides of the plate relative to the slate, mainly to righties, and that's very scary against the Yankees lineup that feasts on feasts on pitchers that give up that type of pop to righties, and they're just loaded with powerful righties, especially not only in the middle of that lineup, but also towards the bottom of that lineup, whoever you might get down there. Mike Minor, same thing against KC, and Charlie Morton against Minnesota is just a death matchup. I want to avoid Carlos Carrasco at $9,500 in his potential blow-up. I'm fine getting to Martin Perez against Tampa. I think that would be the second most viable guy that I'd feel comfortable with. And then going all the way down, this 7K and below range, starting with J.A. Happ, is just miserable. It's terrible. Chase Anderson's not going to be working deep into games. J.A. Happ is going up against Boston, a team that is going to have a lot of upside against him, is filled with righties, which he gives up just so much pop to righties, and you're playing in Yankee Stadium, so that's not great for Happ. Giving up lots of home runs as of late, especially again to those righties. You get a pitcher against the Angels here, which is never something I want to target, especially in the low end. And then this is where you get to Jason Vargas and Joe Musgrove. I think they're both in play. I prefer Joe Musgrove because I think he works definitely deeper into games. And also because if I get to more Rue, I don't want to have the opposing pitcher to limit my win upside to get an extra 4 points or so. So really, right now, it's Rue, it is Martin Perez, it is Jason Vargas, and it is Joe Musgrove for me in a pitcher pool. If you told me to pick a fifth, I'd probably lean between Chris Sale. It'd probably be Chris Sale when it's all said and done. Charlie Morton, the more I talk about just going up against the Twins, that's just brutal. So I'd probably lean Chris Sale against the Yankees, just betting on pure talent there. So that's it. Those are my 5 pitchers in terms of a pool. Early in the morning, the reasons why I'm picking them. If you want this sheet, it's already up on Patreon. You can hit the link below. You can get it. You can support me. Thank you so much. Hit the like button. Let me know if you subscribed during this video. That's awesome. If you're still here, comment it down below. Hit the notification bell before you leave. My name's Sal. Best of luck to everybody. Peace out, gang.